There we go. All right. Good morning.
Thanks for being flexible with me about yesterday.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I didn't realize you had a son. I thought you just had a daughter.
Uh, so I've got a really confusing family relationship. Technically, I do only have a daughter, but she has two older brothers and a younger brother who aren't mine, but I'm like the only father figure in their life. So,
Okay, that explains it then.
yeah,
And what age did he turn yesterday?
6.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in what you're going to say about this screen time limits, because as having a 6-year-old, I'm guessing you've had a little bit of experience with limiting time on devices with kids.
I mean, yeah, it's really easy with like a 6-year-old because you just take the phone away from them, or the iPad. I don't really give them my phone, but
Yeah, that sounds easy. I mean, my little one has only just progressed from if I take away something, it doesn't exist anymore, to if I take it away, oh, it still exists and it's hidden somewhere. I think I'm a few years away from setting screen time limits on anything.
yeah, I think until the point where they have their own devices that I need to be monitoring, it'll just be easier to take it away than try to figure out even how to get that screen time stuff to work.
Yeah. Anyway, should we save that and just save that until we actually talk about it? It was the second topic, but let's kick off with the first one. So, top post on the Apple subreddit for the last week is the number of times I have opened iMessage when trying to add a photo from the camera roll, and then it has a little arrow pointing to the number of upvotes. And this got a crazy number of upvotes, over 9,000. I'm just happy I could say that. So, for anyone that hasn't upgraded to iOS 12, the little camera icon in the iMessage app, actually, I can't even remember how it's changed. There used to be, was it an option when you clicked on the camera icon to choose from the camera roll? No, I remember what it did, sorry. It used to give you the little camera preview and then the film strip next to it, didn't it, when you hit the camera icon?
Yeah.
Right. Whereas now, the camera icon opens the camera, and then in the app strip below, it gives you a little photos icon. So it's a little bit more similar to, say, how your home screen is, where you've got a camera icon and a photos icon.
Yeah.
But I think this will take a long time to break this sort of habit, because even since, say, iOS 7, the little camera icon there has let you choose from your camera roll, I'm reasonably sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, how long did it take you adopting the iOS 12 beta to get used to the actual Photos app instead of just going to the camera?
I would say I don't press it accidentally anymore, but it's still certainly not a habit. It's still something I would think about every time I do it.
Yeah. I was definitely in the same boat where I was just like, muscle memory, go to the camera icon. I wanted to send a photo to someone. And I definitely don't do that anymore either. But it's so infrequently I send someone a photo that way. Usually if I'm sending someone a photo, it's because I'm looking at it and I want to share it. I can just share it to them directly from the photo. I'm not usually in a conversation and think about pulling up a photo to send them. So it's not a very common use case for me.
Okay, well, yep, I'm completely the opposite then. I would rarely send a photo from within the Photos app. It's nearly always in iMessage. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you noticed, I don't know if you've seen a lot of old people use phones, but they nearly always, to get to the camera roll, they open the camera and then click on the little preview button in it. It seems to be just, I don't know why, but old people tend to do this.
Huh. I can't say I've noticed that.
And that's what I feel like when I'm trying to use this new layout.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever really used any of the new apps they added a couple years ago to iMessage. And maybe people who do use the apps a lot, it makes sense to them. But for me now, like the Photos is the only app I use on there. So
right. So do you have any other? Do you let apps install their iMessage components?
I generally turn them off. I have a couple that I have in my app drawer because I feel like they'd be fun to use at some point, but I've never actually bothered to use them. I think the most use I got out of them was it iOS 10 that they added these. Right after they got added to iMessage, I played around with them. I played some of like the mini games, and I got a bunch of the sticker packs, and then after that I haven't gotten any use out of it since. What about you? Do you use any of the apps?
No, basically never.
Okay.
There's very little in there that that is worth using. The iMessage App Store, I mean, to me, as soon as they announced it, I thought, what is this? What is it doing here? It doesn't seem like a great idea. It seems to be a copy of a Facebook feature, because they had apps in Messenger first.
Right.
But personally, I don't think I'd ever use those apps. Besides the GIF feature. All right, everything I say is excluding any GIF search features.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Use.
I use a GIF keyboard sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, so previously you could just do that by changing keyboards, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's the solution I'd been using, and I did switch to using Apple's image search app for that. So I guess that is an app. And looking through it, I also use the Apple Pay app which you don't have Apple Pay Cash,
right,
so that doesn't apply to you. Yeah. So that, and like jokingly, I'll occasionally send an Animoji to someone, but that very rarely.
Right, yeah, Animoji's also in the app graveyard for me.
Yeah.
But the fact that Facebook has pushed this and is still developing it, it tells me that there is a demographic of people who use these sorts of apps. And I think you can even tell that they are in use because, say on Facebook, if you're looking at like the list of people, I'm not sure if you're a big Facebook user, but you can often see what they're doing in Messenger. It'll say like playing Words with Friends or whatever. Yeah. So
pulling it up now.
There are certainly people that are using these apps, and maybe it's just not us. And there are people using the iMessage counterparts as well.
Yeah, I mean, I knew they implemented these features to compete with Facebook Messenger. Looking at I've like practically deleted my Facebook. I only still have it activated at all because I rely on it to log into so many different websites. But yeah, looking at my Messenger feed, I don't necessarily see what my contacts are doing, but maybe all my contacts are too old to be playing with the apps on Facebook as well. It's definitely I
don't know. I think my contacts are older than yours.
I don't know. Like a lot of my friends are in their 70s and 80s, James.
Please explain how that came about.
Well, I mean, you know that I'm a barbershop singer.
Right.
And that hobby is really popular in the older demographic more than the younger. So a lot of the people that I know and hang out with the most are, many decades older than me.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's definitely a younger person thing. Like younger than me.
Okay, sure. Just while we're on the topic of changing icons around in iOS 12, I just want to quickly talk about the change in the FaceTime icons, because they made two changes that really get my goat.
Okay.
Is that an expression over there?
Yeah.
Cool. So firstly, changing the flip camera icon.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Beneath the ellipses.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think we might have even talked about that. But the other one that also infuriates me, and it's along the same lines as like pushing new features to the detriment of essential features, is putting the effects icon like up front and in your face right there next to the end call icon. I don't know how many times I'm ever going to use that. And before, it was mute microphone, which is an essential feature of a phone call. And now it's this stupid, do you want to make yourself look like a comic book? Do you want to turn your face into an emoji? I get that they're trying to push new features, but the core features are what are important, and it's why I use the app.
Yeah, I think FaceTime is starting to go the same route that iMessage took a couple years ago, where they're adopting all these new fun features to try to bring in like a different audience, at the same time like kind of losing core functionality along the way. It's definitely been I mean, I use the Animoji thing in FaceTime a lot because a lot of time I'm FaceTiming the kids, and they love it. But yeah, in a more professional setting, like the mute button and the flip camera button are way more important than the effects button. So I'm not sure what justification they had for that. Hopefully they're going to make some changes, though, because I've seen quite a bit of backlash on the subreddit in the last week over that.
Oh, yeah, there are so many posts angry at this and that with FaceTime.
Yeah. Which surprises me, looking through those, how many people actually aren't on the beta, just with how high that number of people that use the beta is now. And then when the official release comes out, all the new complaints that show up on the subreddit, it's like, I've kind of gotten used to this after 6 months, but it's funny to see all these new people.
Yeah, with 800,000 subs and 4 or 5 million beta testers. I mean, I assumed the 800,000 was part of that 5 million, 100%.
I mean, yeah, this is the group people I'd expect. So,
yeah. All right, shall we push on to the next topic, which is my kid managed to pass screen time limits. This is a self-post by Propeller Guy. Mm-hmm. So he installed iOS 12 on his device and set a screen limit for his 7-year-old son. But his son worked out that when he gets locked out due to the screen time limit, if he goes to the App Store and reinstalls the game, so you go to the game and there's a little cloud icon next to it.
Right.
It re-downloads the app. Sorry, I've just said game. It re-downloads the app or game, whatever it is, without the limitations. So they can basically use it forever on from there. Very clever. Kids are pretty smart.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. It sounds like a pretty easy bug for Apple to work around or get patched. But I can definitely see. I mean, well, I guess first of all, I don't think screen time is necessarily aimed towards that. I guess there is some aspect of families monitoring their kids' usage, but I think it's more of a personal accountability thing, and so they're not worried about it being like absolutely like seamless wall you can't get through to use apps anymore. It's more of just like a hey reminder you don't want to be using this app more than this much in a day. That's
right, and the little bypass that's there by default when you turn on screen time, and you get the block screen with the bypass at the bottom. Yeah, that speaks to exactly that. It's more of a personal limit rather than something that's aimed at kids. Although it is useful, I think, for parents as well. And a workaround apparently is just to disable the App Store. Then they won't be able to get on there. So you can still use this.
Yeah, reading this article got me thinking about this post got me thinking about like ways that I circumvented my parents' technology restrictions as a kid. And the big one that came to mind for me was when I first got a cell phone, I was on like a prepay plan. But it was a carrier here in the US that we didn't have SIM cards on them. It was kind of like an eSIM, but you just called this like 611 number and you gave them your account information on this number and you just told them the IMEI number of the cell phone that you wanted that number to be switched to, and they just automatically switch it. No SIM card swapping required. And so like when I'd get grounded, my parents would take my cell phone away from me, or they'd take it away from me at night because they'd catch me using it too late in the night and they wanted me to sleep. And so my workaround for that was I had a second one that they didn't know about that I had like purchased from the dollar store. And they'd take my phone away, and I'd just call the carrier on that phone and have them switch my number and everything to that phone so I could continue using it even when I was grounded. And I did that my entire childhood, and they never found out.
And you didn't ever have any complaints from your carrier that you were switching numbers every night, once in the morning too?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't switching numbers; it was just switching the phones the number was on. But
switching devices.
It was all an automated system, so. Yeah, there was never any complaints or anything.
So the only cost was your time. There's probably no cost to them at all.
Yeah, and it was like 60 seconds. It was just typing in a few numbers and they'd switch it over.
Yeah, I've got to give it to you. That's quite genius.
I was pretty proud of myself as a kid. But also I was, man, I probably should have let them take it away because I was up to like 3 a.m. playing on my phone at night, like in middle school. So I probably needed that sleep more than I needed internet games.
Yeah, teenagers need more sleep than anyone.
Yeah.
According to research.
Yeah. So
those SIM-less phones, they were, I would have guessed, like a CDMA phone with Verizon.
yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. They had a little bit of market penetration here, not Verizon, but CDMA as a technology.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. I don't think I've ever had one. I've only ever had GSM, I guess, is the alternative.
Yeah, GSM.
Yeah, that's a SIM phone. But I can't attest to ever having these sorts of problems being a little bit older than you. I didn't even have a mobile until I was, I guess, old enough to manage it myself, which would have been the end of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only computer that I was kind of trying to get on as a kid was, in the room called the computer room.
Yeah.
Which is a non-portable computer, of course.
Sure.
And my time limit was set on the oven timer. So I guess that speaks to my age, doesn't it?
I mean, not really. My first computers I was playing with as a kid. I mean, I also had very limited time I was allowed to use it because, my parents couldn't use the phone while I was playing on my internet games or whatever, for a long time at least, when we still had dial-up. So I was in I guess kind of a similar boat. We had a computer room as well, and one corner had my parents' computer in it, and one corner had a computer that my brother and I shared. It was a Windows XP tower. It wasn't even connected to the internet. It just had like educational games on it and like a paint program or something. And that was about all we used the computer for most of middle school for me. My parents really didn't like the internet. They didn't trust the internet at all. So we didn't have very much internet access at my house for a long time until I got my first iPod Touch, and then I used the neighbor's Wi-Fi.
The neighbor's Wi-Fi. You're very resourceful.
Yeah, that was early enough that like people didn't even think to secure their Wi-Fi networks back then because the Wi-Fi was still kind of a brand new thing in 2007.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I remember my first foray into Wi-Fi, a couple of devices off eBay and D-Link, I think, and 802.11a or B or something terrible.
Yeah.
One of the Redditors in this post, he commented on what his workaround was.
Okay.
When he was a bit younger, or she. Social issues ahoy. What they didn't count on was the fact I was savvy enough to put together a tiny little app in Xcode that mimicked the type-in password dialog box, and he essentially created a password skimmer and got the admin password.
Oh,
that's really good.
That's much more clever than I could have done as a kid. But I mean, I trust that like my kids are gonna be so much smarter than me when they get a little older. I mean, I'm just gonna have to trust them. But also, I'm gonna be way smarter than my parents about like monitoring internet and stuff.
That's right, but it's a never-ending cycle, isn't it? The kids are always going to be smarter. Yeah. What is your plan when they're a little bit older?
I haven't put a lot of thought into it yet. I'm hoping there'll be I've probably got, 5 or 6 years until they're going to be super aware of the internet is anything outside of like Netflix. So I've got a little bit of time to figure it out, but I need to actually get a game plan of how I'm going to actually try to outsmart them. Maybe there'll be some really like good parental control options out by then for probably all Apple software platforms. I don't imagine I'll be straying away from that. I've already got my house set up with like security cameras and stuff like that, which is way more than my parents ever had.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so they're not going to be able to be sneaking in and out very much. But as far as what they do online, that's going to be difficult. Besides monitoring web traffic, which can be kind of easily done.
If you're looking for a primer on what it's going to be like, there's a really good movie that's just come out called 8th Grade. Have you heard of that?
Huh. I'll have to take a look.
Yeah. I say really good because the critics have given it good ratings, but I didn't really enjoy it myself. But it's the social pressures on the digital life of an 8th grader. Quite not eye-opening, but yeah, I guess you could say eye-opening. I think it's quite well done.
Okay. Yeah, 8th grade was kind of about the time I was starting to go online more frequently. Facebook opened to the public when I was in 8th grade. And before that, I had like a MySpace page for like 6 months or so before that.
The big social platform when I got online, which was my 7th grade, was Yahoo Groups.
Yahoo Groups?
That was crazy. Yeah.
Did you have a Friendster?
No.
No?
I don't really know what that is.
Oh, Friendster was kind of like the big social media platform before MySpace, and kind of the same format of a social network that Facebook and MySpace have.
Oh, okay.
But
I don't think it got any penetration here then. Or
Yeah,
at least not to my knowledge.
Yeah, it could have been regional. Yahoo Groups. I'm trying to remember, what did I do? I think MySpace was my only form of social media back then. I had like IM. Man, IM used to be a big deal. I had like AOL Instant Messenger and the Yahoo Instant Messenger, and I'd use the Microsoft Instant Messenger, and I had friends on all of those different platforms. And we'd be now that I say this, thinking back to our conversation a little earlier, I was definitely playing with like built-in messenger apps. It was like you could create your own little animations and send those to your friends, or we'd do video chats and stuff with these instant messaging clients, and that was, I think, my big form of social media before there was like an organized platform like Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have spent countless hours on MSN Messenger. Yeah. Back in early high school.
And then back in the early days of the App Store, like late 2008, there was some kind of shady messaging apps that came out that was like their whole purpose was just to connect people like in your area, which I say that now and it sounds like Tinder, but it was like an anonymous messenger where it would just connect you with someone random within like so many miles of you. And maybe it was just scary thinking back because I was in middle school and that was a thing, and I probably would have been way less or way more cavalier with like sharing my personal details with someone then. And apps cared much less about making sure you were an adult before using them in those early days.
Yeah, it was a bit of a Wild West back then, wasn't it?
A little bit. I'm sure Apple's moderation helped a lot, and I'm sure like the Android App Store went through a similar process, and maybe even a little worse, without as much like rules and regulations on what can and can't be there.
If an app came out now though that just connected you with someone in your area, I think that's been totally normalized. I don't think someone will worry too much about it.
Yeah. I was thinking that. I was just like saying that like this. I'm saying this and it's supposed to sound like a scary thing, but now like half the apps on the App Store do this, and it's like, you know, you can give someone your address and they'll show up in a car and pick you up and take you somewhere. It's like like if I would have told my parents that app exists, they would have made me throw away my iPhone.
Exactly.
Times have changed in just a few years.
Certainly have. Third hottest topic on the Apple subreddit this week was that another self-post. I had quite a few self-posts this week.
Yeah.
By Space Coyote UK, who says Apple stepped up their customer service game to God level. Basically what happened, he was expecting his XS Max, but then on the Apple order site he got shipping status delayed sorting error because the courier had stuffed it up. I'm guessing this person is in the UK, so it might not have been UPS. But a quick call to Apple, and they essentially got had a plan B already sorted out, in which another courier would go to this sorting facility where the phone had been missorted and then deliver it to his lap, more or less.
Yeah, that's
fairly impressive. I'm not sure if that's a UK thing. I guess it would be worldwide, or anywhere that they had like a good contract with the couriers.
Yeah, I had no idea Apple had a policy like this. That's really reassuring for me, for someone who makes a lot of day one orders, that they have like emergency procedures in place. The poster talks about how somewhere in this post, I'm trying to skim it really quickly, they had asked if they could just go to the sorting facility itself and pick up their phone, and of course they were told that wasn't allowed. And I've had similar experiences, not where anything was messed up, just like I ordered a new laptop, and this was, I think it was a 2011 MacBook Pro I did this. I got the 2011 MacBook Pro, and it was like at the sorting facility, and it would be delivered to my house the next day, but I really wanted the laptop that day, so I drove to the sorting facility. I'm like, hey, can I just have my laptop, to get turned away? I probably should have called first.
The turning cogs of a logistics company are not something to be messed with. To try and do something out of process, I mean, yeah. You may as well have asked for a new laptop or just any package off the shelf. You would have been as likely to get that as your own.
It sounds like exactly what Apple did, though. They sent their own courier to that sorting facility to pick it up and bring it to them. And it sounds like they have like a really lenient or strict, however you want to word it, contract with these couriers they use to deliver their products. Like, hey, if you're going to be the company we use to deliver all our products, we get unlimited access to these things to fix anything you screw up on that day, which is a really cool thing that they've been able to work out.
The only similar thing I've experienced, I think it was the iPhone 4, maybe the 4S, where the courier wasn't able to deliver the phone on the Friday when it was due because I don't think the shipment had come in from China or Sydney or wherever it was coming from. And they actually organised for weekend couriers to then come out over the weekend and deliver all the phones.
Wow.
And I remember talking to the courier himself, who said he was getting paid an insane amount of overtime to get these phones out.
I bet. It's a pretty good deal. I can't imagine like just the life of a courier on a product launch day. That has to be like 90% of the cargo in their truck is just new iPhones. Because I know, like, whenever I get my new iPhone or new Apple Watch from them, they always, I mean, generally they'll hand you a package. I have no idea what it is, but always when they bring it, like, here's your new phone. Like, that's for, like, because it's like the 300th one they've handed to someone that day.
So how did your Friday go then last week?
It went pretty well. I got my phone right in the middle of the day, around noon. Got it all set up. I haven't had any issues with it. The phone itself is, like, the footprint is smaller than I expected, but still very, like, large in the hand. Like, I'm pretty sure I prefer the 5.8-inch form factor over the 6.5 one now that I've held both. But I've always preferred smaller phones. I just like the bigger screen enough that I always sacrifice comfort for them. The hardest thing for me is I like to swipe from the edge of the screen to go back a lot, and I'm not quite used to how far I have to reach to do that yet. So I end up navigating within apps or navigating in ways I'm not expecting when I'm trying to swipe out of an app. That's been my biggest issue. And actually I'm surprised we're not touching on this. There's been kind of in the last couple days some stuff about how the Wi-Fi and cell speeds on the 10S, 10S Max in some cases aren't matching or even severely underperforming the iPhone X's speed, which I haven't seen much of, but someone had made a comment on one of the posts that it's like Antenna-Gate 2.0. And just for fun, I like gripped my phone in a way that like my hands covered the entire sides of the antennas, and my Wi-Fi and my phone reception dropped to 0 when I did it.
Oh wow, really?
So it's just, I mean, it's like a grip that I would never use like comfortably or casually, but if I like wrap a hand completely around the top, around all the edges, and around the bottom, all around all the edges, my signal strength completely drops to nothing, and then I let go and it comes back. So it's a lot like the Antenna-Gate on the iPhone 4.
Do you still have your iPhone 10 such that you could try it on there as well and compare?
Kind of. I mean, I do have it still at my house, but it's already like packed up in Apple's return box, and I'm sending it back to them. So I haven't experimented, but I don't think I had that issue because I do tend to experiment with that kind of stuff when I get the phones new, and I don't remember having that problem with the iPhone 10. But I think it's the new, like they added 2 more antenna bands to the 10S, one on the top and one on the bottom, for the 4x4 MIMO support. And somehow with that, I don't remember exactly how the issue worked with iPhone 4, but it was like if you bridged enough gaps between the antennas, it would happen.
Right.
But I think it's a similar thing here now. With the way they're dividing up so many antennas, you can kind of cause the same issue. So, I mean, I don't think it's nearly on the same par as iPhone 4 was, because it's not a casual grip at all that's going to cause it to happen. But I can make it happen again, which is kind of scary and kind of funny.
Not a casual grip. I'm writing that down for the show title.
Man, you're holding it wrong. Would really apply this time.
So you know what the solution is, right? You need a bumper on
case?
that thing.
I actually cannot imagine having a case on this phone. It's already so unwieldy big. Which, it's funny saying that, because it's like the exact same footprint as a plus-size phone, which I had comfortably used for years. And then going to the 10, I got really used to that 5.8-inch screen size, and now it feels like really big. I'm sure I'll get used to it after a while, though.
So you are still within your 2-week return policy. You could always just take it back and get the iPhone XR.
The 10R?
Regular XS.
Oh, man.
No?
No. I probably have, like, some undiagnosed mental condition about, like, needing to have the best thing. So I would
the
I would
XS
be
regular
less happy.
size then, because it's not a compromised phone this year. You've got all the features of the Max.
But I have a smaller screen and I have a smaller battery, and whatever is going on in my head, I'm going to be like beating myself up over that more than.
Okay.
So actually, okay. So the one thing that I really like the extra display space in terms of like content consumption. It's nice, but landscape apps are so much more comfortable to use on this bigger screen. Like if I try to respond to a text message in landscape mode on a 10, have you tried to do this at all? Where if you're in landscape mode and you get a notification and you just like 3D touch on that and try to respond to it quickly, your keyboard takes up like 95% of the screen and you can't even really see what like the context of the conversation at all, because it's such a small vertical when you're in horizontal orientation.
Yeah, this has basically been a problem since whenever apps could rotate, that whenever you use the keyboard, it's taken up a ridiculous amount of the screen. It doesn't seem to matter how big the phones get. It always takes up more of the screen than is worth doing.
Right. And it's probably still true for this as well, but I actually have enough vertical space when my phone is in landscape that I can still see a little bit of the context of a conversation when I'm responding. It's just the hair more space makes the whole idea of landscape feel a little more usable and not, I don't know, a throwaway thing.
I was also quite pleased to hear that the home screen actually doesn't rotate itself anymore.
Oh, were you annoyed by that?
Yes, incredibly annoyed.
I guess it was frustrating to pull your phone out of your pocket and it'd be the wrong orientation 100% of the time.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I never want to use the home screen in landscape. And then sometimes you'd pull it up, I mean, out of your pocket or on the table or, I don't know, anywhere. And you just get that stupid waste of time where it would think you're in landscape. It would rotate to landscape, and then obviously you're in portrait, and then it would switch back. Yeah. And just for that alone, I would very, very frequently have screen long rotation locked just for that, which was...
Yeah.
Yeah. That hasn't been a problem, of course, since I didn't have a plus-size phone for the last year.
Right. Yeah, I can't say I've ever... I can't imagine anyone had any legitimate use for a landscape home screen, so I'm fine with them removing that. I wouldn't mind, actually, if Apple implemented some kind of smart screen orientation lock like Android has, where you can have your orientation locked at all times, but if you start playing a video, it'll ask you if you still want to rotate that in the landscape. So for the most part, like 100% of what you're doing will be locked, and then like those one or two cases that should be easy to identify, like a video is playing, it allows you to override the lock instead of having to manually turn it off every time.
Right. The only time that I want the screen to rotate is videos or photos, and nearly no other time. I mean, occasionally in Safari. But implementing something like, I think the YouTube app might do this already, where it's got the little expand button at the bottom right of a video, say when you're watching a portrait, and it would expand it to landscape, even if the phone is still in portrait.
Yeah, that'd be
yeah.
great.
So Android already has this. That's
Yeah, it's been around for a few
something
years.
similar. Okay.
It's been around for a few years. That means like 1% of Android users have it at this point.
I actually looked up the stat of Android adoption just before the show, since it's similar, kind of related to our last topic. And last year's Android, what is that? Oreo, I think last year.
Yeah.
Released in August, has about the same adoption as iOS 12 does right now.
That's insane.
Anyway, just before we move on to the next topic,
okay,
did you want to say anything about your new Apple Watch as well?
I haven't got a new Apple Watch yet.
No? Okay.
Which is a surprise because usually everything's day one purchase for me. But I wanted to hold out until I get a chance to go see them in person because I'm thinking, or I was thinking, not quite as much anymore, that I might consider like jumping to a different color this year. But the more I've thought about it, the more I'm pretty sure I'm just going to go with my plain stainless because I have so many bands that have like the stainless steel lugs that go in the watch, and those would look ridiculous on a gold or black watch. So I'm probably going to end up with the same stainless steel, but I wanted to go look at them in person first and kind of make that decision based on how they looked. So, but then of course the shipping date on them has slipped until like, I don't know what they're at now. They went all the way back to mid to late October just on launch day. So hopefully not too much farther back, and I'll get one soon.
Okay. I had in mind you already had one.
No, not quite.
I had a little bit of a misfortune with my Apple Watch upgrade plan. Typically my plan is that I would sell like the previous year's watch to partially or mostly fund the new purchase.
Right.
But unfortunately I've managed to smash the screen on the last watch mere weeks before the plan of the new one. So the resale value has gone through the floor.
Do you have Apple Care?
No.
Oh man.
Yeah.
How much is a screen repair out of warranty?
Yeah, that's the thing that's painful and annoying and caused me to argue for a long time with Apple about say they don't actually do a screen repair. They only do a watch replacement, so they just give you a refurbished watch. And in Australian dollars, it's $400.
Okay.
And to give you perspective, you could probably pick up like a mint watch secondhand for $450, so it's totally not worth doing.
Oh, yeah.
And the watch itself, I think, still sells for about $600. So, yeah, 2/3 of the price of the watch just for a broken screen is hard to stomach, and it's the reason I've still got a broken watch sitting here, unrepaired.
So you're just not wearing a watch anymore?
Yep, at the moment. I'm showing off my 3 years of wearing a watch, like ring
nice
of
tan
pale
line.
skin.
Very nice. Man, that'd be sickening to smash your watch right before you're gonna sell it.
Exactly, but as comfort, at least I didn't smash it while I was wearing a Series 4.
Yeah. Maybe you can consider picking up Apple Care this year.
Yeah. I might do. Either Apple Care or like a personal insurance for it.
Yeah, well, I think the Apple Care, I don't know if the watch is. I know for the phone, it's just monthly payments now, which is kind of nice because then you can cancel whenever you want. You don't have to pay the, whatever entire fee up front.
I have a feeling that's US only. I haven't seen that here.
Oh, really?
But I'll have a look.
Okay. Yeah, if you go to the product checkout page and see.
Yeah.
So my plan with my Apple Watch is I hand down my old one to my girlfriend, and then I get the new one every year. So she has a Series 2 on right now, and she'll be getting a Series 3 this year.
That's always what I do with phones, but I can't with the watch just because she wears the smaller watch. So, and the bigger one looks ridiculous, especially now it's gotten even bigger. There's no way she's going on her wrist.
Right. Well, she's got the yearly upgrade program through her carrier to get the new iPhone. So, which is smart. I should probably do that considering how much I spend on new iPhones every year.
I looked at the cost once with my carrier, and it doesn't work out really to be any better than just doing it yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it depends on your philosophy, like because I think with my carrier it's like a leasing thing, so you get insurance with it and stuff like that as well.
Right. Well, and then Apple has their own product or own program you can do directly through them.
Right.
I haven't looked into the price of anything because I'm just been so worried about it compromising my ability to get the phone day one that I haven't even like bothered to look into it. But I might do it if it's going to save me significant money in the future.
Yeah, worth checking out. So, did you know that Apple has acquired Shazam?
And I had a deja vu reading this.
Me too, because I think it's been basically reported every quarter for the last 18 months because, well, maybe even longer, because there were rumors of it, and then rumors of the deal starting, and then rumors of problems with the deal, and now finally has been confirmed. But this is a long time in the works, and I don't really know if I've got a lot to say about it, but it was one of the top posts, and it's been finalized. And it'd be, I wouldn't have been surprised if someone had said, actually, this was finalized 12 months ago, just because the way that Shazam integrates so nicely into iOS, and not just iOS 12. For instance, you've been able to ask Siri, Shazam this, and it will actually listen to the song. That's built into the HomePod as well. It's integrated really nicely with Apple Music, so if you Shazam something, you can automatically add the found song to an Apple Music playlist.
Right.
I like Shazam, and it has it's doing a lot better than its main competitor, which is SoundHound. But that might get a little bit more traction if this finalized purchase leads to things such as the removal of Spotify integration from Shazam, which a lot of people love. Are you a Shazam user?
I mean, outside of like, I use it built into Siri occasionally, but I don't like have the Shazam app on my phone or anything. It's very rare that I hear a song that I'm interested in enough that I like ask Siri what it is. But I do use it occasionally.
How does Shazam work with Barbershop? Any good?
Oh, it's completely useless with the Barbershop. But like if I'm in like a coffee shop or something, or like walking through Walmart and some kind of or song comes on the radio, I'll use it occasionally if it's an interesting enough song that I want to look it up and potentially add it to my Apple Music. But yeah, I'm not a frequent user. I'm sure there's power users who use it way more than I do.
Yeah, are people really into popular music? Because I think that's the most likely thing that you're going to Shazam, isn't it? When you're out and about, most likely thing playing is some sort of pop music. What about on your Apple Watch? I think that's where my Shazam had the most usage.
Oh, really?
I wouldn't say it was a great experience because most of the time it would say something like unable to connect and Shazam saved for later when your watch is online. Of course, it had Bluetooth, it had Wi-Fi, LTE.
Oh, does it like save a recording?
Yeah, it must be a recording or
That's interesting.
some sort of algorithm that it generated, whatever Shazam does.
Yeah.
And then like 3 to 4 days later, I'll just randomly get a notification saying that I had found a match. Oh yeah, that's right. I Shazammed that last week.
Finally processed it. Huh. I don't think I've ever actually tried to use it for my watch. Maybe I just assumed it wouldn't work, but I'll have to give it a shot sometime.
Yeah, there are some comments in the thread saying it works better on WatchOS 5 as well.
Huh, okay. So doesn't Shazam also, I think it's Shazam, it might have been a completely separate app, but like Shazam can also like identify TV shows by listening to a show playing? Is that Shazam? And then it could like, I know maybe this is a US thing, but you could like, you could listen to a show playing and it'd tell you the show and tell you like what channel it's on, like right now in your area, and you could like tell you the station and stuff like that.
I knew there was something like that built in, but I had always thought it was more of a like a promotional thing, so it wasn't just any TV show that you could Shazam, but if the show had specifically sort of worked out a promotional deal with Shazam, that at certain points you could Shazam it for like certain features.
Well, I just Googled it, and I see there's an article here from that old? September 2012. It says Shazam for TV now works with any show.
Wow, okay. That's news.
So, yeah. So we're 6 years out of the loop with this, but I guess it's been around for a while.
Yeah, sure sounds like it. I might try it during the week.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just commercial TV or if you can just be watching anything that you've downloaded.
I don't know. Yeah, I have to play around with it some. So I've heard a lot of people speculating that this could potentially mean better voice recognition for Siri as well, because Shazam has some pretty good like audio analysis engineers and stuff like that.
Right, and that's normally why Apple acquires companies, isn't it? Not so much for the product, but
right
for the people behind the product.
They really wanted those Beats headphones.
Do you think they regret that purchase?
Well, okay,
They regret having to run the Beats company still?
Have you heard the stuff going on in the background around this streaming service Apple's trying to put together?
I try and ignore any sort of news about this, but go on.
Okay, well, so they're working on some original content for it, and like the first show that they like recorded and put together was, it's like reality TV is kind of what it is for Dr. Dre. It's like following the life of Dr. Dre, and they finished filming the show and putting it together, and Tim Cook sat down and watched, like, I don't know how much of it. I assume the whole series or the whole season. And there's like episodes of Dr. Dre like doing cocaine, and there was like orgies, and Tim's like, we are just canceling this whole project. We cannot have this on our streaming platform.
What?
So yeah, so they've canned that entire show for this platform. So I don't think they're too happy with like the baggage of kind of associating Dr. Dre with their company.
How is a TV provider that censors that sort of stuff going to ever take off?
That's.
I mean, there's a reason HBO is as big as it is, and it has something to do with nudity and good TV. Good TV.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just Googled Tim Cook Beats by Dre show, and there's like a Business Insider article that comes up from yesterday, and it's talking about how Tim Cook shot down this entire show over orgy scene and cocaine use.
The orgy scene's probably a bit much. But,
but yeah, they have a really strict, kind of the same policy they are applying to their app store of like being super family friendly and clean. They're trying to apply to this streaming service they're putting together, and it's going to make it like they can't compete with already established streaming services if they're going to so heavily censor all the content. They're not going to have any chance. I mean, it sounds like all their original content they're going to put together is like Planet of the Apps kind of stuff, which I don't know if you ever watched. I never even got through one episode of that.
Watched about 5 minutes of it and decided that it was, utter garbage, not worth the watch. And then they picked up Carpool Karaoke after it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing seems like it's gonna fall apart. I really hope that it's not a separate service that they're gonna be trying to build, and they're just gonna try to be adding this into Apple Music, because I mean, arguably, I think it could strengthen Apple Music. It's like, hey, you're paying this subscription fee and you get unlimited access to this music and some original shows that maybe a handful of you will like. Whereas if they have this whole separate streaming service, no one's gonna pay extra for that if it's just a couple like super clean, generic shows, and no one's gonna be excited to write or direct for that platform either.
It feels like someone at the top is just like, well, we're a big company, we need to be involved in making TV shows. Microsoft did it with NBC, didn't they?
Yeah.
So now it's Apple's turn. See how well it went for Microsoft?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise us, but I think it's gonna be like another Ping, iTunes Ping kind of thing, where they're gonna show it off and then never speak about it again. And it's gonna go away in a few years.
Yeah, I just hope it goes away before that. It's clearly not a strength of theirs, not yet anyway.
What they really need to do, if they want to make it work, is they just need to buy good shows and not try to make their own and not try to censor existing content and just find what people like and hire good directors and just let them like push money at them and let them be creative and make their own thing and get out of the way.
The last topic for the week is that iOS 12 is installed on 10% of devices 48 hours after launch, which is a little bit slower than iOS 11. But if you compare it to the next most popular, would you say Android's the next most popular, or is actually Android the more popular operating system? I'd say it's probably the more popular.
Android.
It's got a bigger install base.
Yeah, in terms of install base, Android's way bigger.
So if you compare it to Android Oreo, which I mentioned earlier, which has been out for over a year, it has approximately the same install base, around 10%, or a little bit more.
Did you happen to see, while you're looking at those numbers, what Android Pie is at? Because that's kind of their newest operating system here.
I tried to find that number, but it wasn't on the news article I read, so no.
Maybe Google's like too embarrassed to even announce that number yet.
Maybe. So I'm looking at the actual developer.android.com, and Pi is not listed. It goes as far as Oreo.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the same website, I think. Yeah. I guess maybe they're waiting for their, I don't know, a quarterly meeting or announcement or something. Where they're going to hopefully have, it's got to be at least 1% before they'll say something.
We'll see.
I mean, I'm surprised to hear that iOS 12 is a smaller or slower adoption rate than iOS 11, considering that iOS 12 works on all iOS 11 devices and makes all of them so much faster. There's no reason that anyone on iOS 11 shouldn't upgrade to iOS 12. It's going to make their device feel brand new.
I think the problem is that slowly over the years and years, there's this general idea that an iOS update is going to slow down your device. And I cannot blame anyone for thinking that, because it has basically done that since iPhone OS 2, whatever it was called. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Were they called iPhone OS? I think so.
iPhone OS.
iPhone OS. Yeah. So, yeah, you certainly can't blame people for that.
Yeah.
I think the automatic updates is probably what's going to push most people onto iOS 12, because if I look at the non-techie people in my family, I mean, firstly, they don't know that there's iOS and an iOS update out. And secondly, most of the time they're going to press not now or whatever the little thing is to just defer the update to a later time. But eventually the phone is going to bug them enough that they install it. And I expect that, say, in another 2 weeks, most of those automatic or bug you until you install it updates would have also been installed. And then maybe we'll get a little bit more positivity towards the update process when they see a faster phone.
Yeah.
Or iPhone or iPad or whatever it is.
It's not going to do anything to help my dad on his iPhone 4S, though.
No, or iPhone 5s. I think, isn't it the 5S? That's the oldest one to get an update.
Yeah, 5S is the last supported model. Yeah. Which leaves a big range of supported screen sizes now that iOS 12 runs on. Anyone developing for iOS has to target that 4-inch screen size, and the 6 and the 6 Plus screen size, and now the 10S and the 10S Max, and then the 10R. So that's 6 different screen sizes now that you have to consider when developing for iOS 12.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can see them dropping support for the 5S and the SE next year either. So this is just going to continue into the future.
Yeah,
for
which
probably at least a couple of years.
I mean, 6 is still a lot less than like the dozens that Android developers have to target, and they don't exactly have like all of the auto scaling UI tools that Xcode provides. But at the same time, it's a lot more than iOS developers are used to having to worry about. But yeah, the 64-bit processor in the 5S, like, is still a really good processor, and I think I could definitely see it carry it through at least one more OS update before Apple drops it.
Yeah, it really shows how far ahead of the game it was when it came out. I mean, I think it blew the industry away, didn't it?
Yeah, they were the first 64-bit
processor.
And I remember after they announced it, like, companies came out like immediately after the 5S announcement said 64-bit is overkill on a mobile device and no one needs that. And then like within the next year,
Qualcomm's
CEO. Yeah, and then immediately after that, like within the next year, all Android phones were 64-bit as well.
Exactly. Have you used a 5S on iOS 12? I don't have access to one to see how well it actually runs.
I have a 5S. I should pull it out and upgrade it and see how it runs. I haven't tried it out yet.
There's your next YouTube video, side by side, 5S versus 10S.
Oh man. Okay, that could be fun.
Please do it.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it. That'll be a good one. Once I get my my new place all set up, I'll record that. Just kind of an off-topic here thing at the end. We had talked about a few episodes ago about the Pixel 3, some of the leaks for that, with like its ridiculously big notch in the chin at the bottom, and how it had been like leaked to the extent that there was people like had gotten a hold of it and unboxed it already. You remember that conversation?
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Have you seen some of the talk about that going around in the last week or so? Have you seen any conversations about that?
No, I haven't. No.
It
you
sounds...
know me, I'm blind to Android news.
It's starting to sound like Google may have done that deliberately, and the Pixel 3 is actually going to look nothing like that, and they did that to say, like, surprise, it's not going to be one of those ugly looking phones with a notch. It's going to be completely edge to edge.
Okay, wow, that's worth looking up.
Because in the last week, Google's like marketing team has been sending emails to all of these tech YouTubers who had talked about this new Pixel 3, the leaks, and how ugly it is. And they've asked specifically to get rights to use those videos saying how ugly the Pixel 3 looks in their marketing materials. So it sounds like they're gonna like show this clip or something along the lines of all these YouTubers saying, look how ugly this new phone is with the notch, and they're gonna do a big reveal of the phone with no notch or something.
This is something that's worth subscribing to the Android subreddit for the next few weeks for, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the Pixel is going to launch within the next 2 or 3 weeks, so it'll be. I'm definitely gonna watch that event. I think it's gonna be pretty good, and I think
all right.
It's starting to sound like Google might have something pretty impressive on their hands with like a fully edge-to-edge phone with no notch.
That would be incredible to see how they did that. All right, I'm gonna tune in. Hopefully, it's not as such a ridiculous time as Apple's keynote.
It's probably gonna be pretty close to the same time. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely be keeping an eye on that scene now, because that's, I don't know, it'd be a pretty funny. It could have shot themselves in the foot, because some people came in like, oh, well, look how ugly the Android phone's gonna be. I'm gonna try iPhone this year, and then they got the new iPhone before Google does their big reveal. But
yeah, although people who flip so easily could probably flip right back as well.
Yeah, that's true. So, but yeah, I thought that was kind of cool news. Wanted to share that and correct myself from an earlier episode.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that back to my attention. I'll keep a close eye on it. All right, call it a show.
Yeah.
I am James VDM on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And we have a Patreon page, patreon.com/The Apple Show. And we'll have this post stickied on the Apple subreddit later today.